So we're here with Carla Speed McNeil, the creator of Finder.
Yay.
Thank you so much for meeting with us.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
So you have just released Finder Library Volume 1, which collects
And that would be this. Na-na.
the early issues of Finder, the first, what is it, four?
Sin Eater is a very long story and was originally published as 2 trade paperbacks and has since been republished as a hardcover, that is to say, this. And so the library contains both of the Sin Eaters, Talisman and King of the Cats. Talisman being one of the best loved books that I've produced. So all of that in one great big, paperback.
And so for people who this may be their first introduction to Finder, just in a nutshell, what is the story of Finder?
In a nutshell, the theme of Finder is everything's ordinary to somebody, no matter how weird it is. And a lot of my speculations have to do with all of the things that we find boring that are actually miracles. You sit down in the morning with your iPhone and you talk to your friends in Vienna and Australia and Kentucky and, eat a bowl of cereal and then get on the bus to go across town to what you do. All of these things are miracles and nobody cares, and I think that is amazing. Whereas somebody on the opposite side of the world, has never seen a bus and, works on a farm and, gets their drinking water from a plastic, jerry can, and that is completely ordinary to them. Everything's ordinary. You strap on a penis gourd in the morning, that's ordinary. You live in a longhouse, that's ordinary. You live on the 50th floor of a fancy high-rise, that's ordinary. I think that is beautiful, and that is what leads my speculations. I've created a science fiction milieu in which I can pretty much do anything I want. It's sort of post-apocalyptic, but so far past the apocalypse that things have again become normal, however odd. The main character, or the usual main character, is a guy who's sort of a cross between an Indian scout and a ninja, I guess. A Navy SEAL, yeah. And he can pretty much work his way into any situation that he wants to, but isn't always entirely sure what to do once he gets there. So when he's at the forefront, the stories tend to be sort of true crime, whether it's a murder mystery or a horrible tale of twisted loyalties, that kind of thing. Maybe a bit more noir. And when he's not at the forefront, the stories can be anything I want. My most popular book, Talisman, is not even about him. Mm-hmm. It's about a little girl from Sin Eater to whom he brings a book. She's too young to read it. He reads it to her, and she falls in love with the story. It's about falling in love with a story and wanting more even there when there is no more to be had. Because when she grows up and learns to read, grows up a little more and wants to read it, she finds that the story in it is absolutely nothing like what he was reading to her, that he was elaborating as he went. And so now she can't even have the book that she loved so much. So what do you do with that? So it's about the book craving that we're all so familiar with, since we're all book nerds anyway.
And you've created quite the expanding universe. Like you said, there is this main character, Jaeger. I always want to call him Jagger because it's got the J, but Jaeger. Yeah. And then sort of his, adopted family, if you will.
Yep.
And then, this expanding universe. Where did you get this idea for this sort of adopted family, and then, like you said, spinning off into Talisman and sort of the other directions it's gone?
Well, interestingly enough, when I first started to sit down and write down all the stuff that was in my head for Finder, he wasn't the main character at all. And it was an ensemble cast, and he became sort of, by dint of practicality, the main character, because he was the only person who connected everybody. He was the only person who, like a stray cat, would go from house to house and, visit people and find out what they were up to, what was on their minds, what they might need or not need. And so he became, ipso facto the main character just because of that. But he's mysterious enough because you don't really know much about him. He's much more focused on other people than on my telling his story. Although that may change with the stuff I've got in Dark Horse Presents, which mostly focuses on him.
So his story continues then in Dark Horse Presents. Yes. That's coming out?
Yeah, the story that's running in 8-page segments in Dark Horse Presents is called Third World, and is about him finally getting bored with being a thug and taking a straight paycheck job as a courier. So he still gets to go from place to place, like Tarzan, anywhere he wants to, but he actually, is getting paid legitimately for it.
So, like you said, I mean, you got him going forward now. This has been published. Finder itself has been published
Since '96.
Since '96. What do you attribute to the enduring popularity of Finder?
I think it's very rewarding for the reader once they have their hands on it. It's hard for me to sell because it is hard to sum up in 10 words or less, because for me it's like a magpie's nest. Every shiny thing that I like, I put in. I figure out what it might change if I add this cool idea, and I get more stories out of it that way. But it does mean when people ask, what is it about, that I kind of go, it's about keeping me from being bored, which doesn't sound like a very good sales pitch, and it's also about, everything that I find fascinating, all the anthropology, all the sociology, all of the other ologies that pretty much run our lives, whether we're aware of it or not. And, most speculative fiction is about, weird alien cultures, but my favorite weird alien cultures are, us.